Hi, this video will start off with talking a little bit about conditional formatting. Conditional formatting, this is a pivot table that's been created. And as you can see by sales date and then the number of orders and by the year. Okay, so I have spark lines here, but conditional formatting could also be set up so that I could place a condition, okay, such as, I'm going to select the data, and I'm going to put conditional formatting, and I'm going to say that anything greater than, I'm going to say greater than 7,500 should turn to, and I'll change the color, I'm going to say to green with dark green fill. All right, so that's conditional formatting. If I go ahead and go, this is a pivot chart here. This is just a different way. This you could use data bars. In this pivot chart right here, if I select the data itself, I can go again to conditional formatting, and I can go into the data bars, and you'll see that I could change the data bar here. I'd already created a conditional formatting before, but this data bar, I'll change the color, and you can see you can add it right into the pivot table itself here. All right, now I'm going to move into what's called a stacked comparison chart. Okay, examples of this are in your book. You will notice in this data is created with a pivot table. I got years versus the month, so I have the sales by the year, right? And so you'll notice that this type of data could be taken from a pivot table, set up into a feeder chart, which is what you see right here. And then all I have to do is create a chart. And this is just a simple column chart. Okay, so this here is one that's already done. And this is how I'm showing you how to create something that would look like this. All right, so once I have the chart created here, I can have my pivot chart tools available. You'll see the design and format here. Under the design, you can see here that I can use the quick layout. If I wanted to say move this so that the 2009 and 10 are over here. And now I can select the 2010 to change it to a line chart. I've selected those particular columns. And now I can go up on my toolbar. I'm going to pick design, change the type, and I'm going to change 2010 to a line chart. Click OK. And I have a stacked comparison chart. The next one is very, very similar, but this is when you see a good reason to use what's called a secondary axis. Now, again, this is set up by month, but instead of just having like the last one where we had the sales by year, this time you're looking at people count versus the percent of labor costs. And again, with our data, we could do the same thing. You could have quantity and percent of the total, or anything that where you are comparing two things that are not necessarily measured in the same units is where a secondary axis can be really useful. So let me show you what I'm talking about by doing that. Again, this is a completed one. These examples are in your book. They give you the steps that I'm doing in the book as well. All right, but I'm going to show you how to create this chart. Again, select your data, go to Insert. I want you to click on the column chart again, simple column chart. Now you'll notice that right here, there's little tiny red at the bottom because that's the percent of the labor cost. And because they're in different units, it just doesn't make for a good comparison. So a secondary axis is what really makes this a good chart. And you'll notice over here, see how it puts this secondary axis so that you can see what the units are, in this case percentages. So how do we do that? Well, I like to do it. There's a number of ways you can, but I tend to, if I can't get a hold of the column, you can also go inside by clicking right here. You can see I'm inside the chart itself on the labor cost. Okay, I'm going to do a right click on top of it. I can format the data series, and I come over here, click on secondary axis. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to close this box on the side. I can go back up here to design, change the chart type, and I'm going to change it to a line chart with markers, and click OK. So you'll now see that you have the same chart with a secondary axis. The only thing different is right down here, and that would be if you wanted to, if you wanted to change it to that. Hold on, let me change my screen there. If you wanted to change it to that, then what you would do is you would go up on here to your design, and then you could do a quick layout to find one that would be similar to what you see in the one on the screen that was already created. So along this line right here would give you a good match. All right, so that's called, this is a chart, and it's using a secondary axis, similar to what we did with the stack comparison chart.